again.
Absolutely, yes. And he's a very well-known UK player. I think he consistently does quite well at tournaments. But yes, as I say, he is someone that we know, very dear to our heart, should I say.
Yeah.
Especially Joe, I would say. But yes, so again, it'd be very interesting to see what he is, what he's going to be playing. But yeah, I'm not too sure who he's playing against.
He plays Grafton Roll. We just mentioned him earlier.
Oh, wow. Fantastic.
Yeah. So the question I remember was mine, is he playing Greninja? He's not playing Greninja this time.
Oh, wow. So Jack, so Jack actually does have a Gardevoir GX deck, so we can see here.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, does he play... so he's got the Sylveon line in there.
Yeah.
He's going for a Rangaroo instead of Octillery, which is very interesting.
That is interesting. It's almost like a mix of what... It's almost a mix of what Michael decided to use and what Bert decided to use. But something else very interesting I just noticed is that Grafton is actually playing Silvally. That's like a new card we hadn't even mentioned yet. So actually, Silvally is one of the cards I think has... I like it a lot, actually. It's one of these cards that, again, ticks off a lot of the checkbox of things which make a Pokemon card good. It has a very efficient, manageable energy cost. Mm-hmm. It accelerates energy. It gives basics free retreat, which is
so good.
That's absolutely ridiculous. And there's a lot going for that card. I like it a lot. And, of course, we can't forget that it has these memory tools with the different types on, which turns it into different types. It means that it can hit most things for weakness if it needs to.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that Silvally players or people considering playing Silvally was, they were quite cautious about was Buzzwole GX, but I haven't seen a single Buzzwole this entire tournament just yet.
No, it's funny, because we just mentioned that. And actually, thinking about it, we've seen Mr. Mime in many of the Gardevoir lists on stream so far. I don't think we have, so maybe people were thinking, oh, maybe that sort of Buzzwole fear was just fear, so am I going to take the risk and not play it? And it seems to, I think... If assuming that it carries in this way, I think the Gardevoir players who didn't play Mr. Mime actually have a pretty good day.
Right, and I mean, also sort of expanding on that, I have seen some Gardevoir players playing the Giratina, which has the ability to prevent the abilities of break Pokemon. That as well, I haven't seen any Greninja about either. So, I mean, these are techs that people are putting in decks to stop specific matchups, but we're just not seeing any Buzzwole or Greninja at the moment.
No, we're not. In any case, I am very, very excited to see where this match goes because, like I said, I'd love to see Silvally in action. I think it's going to be... I mean, if you're talking about who's favoured in this matchup, you've got to give the favour to Grafton here because the Silvally deck, it normally, as this list indeed does, it normally has Metal as a main support focus. So you've got two of the new Registeel as well and Magearna EX to boot. So there's a lot that could really go in his favour.
Absolutely. And I think this is quite similar to, I mean, with the exception of the Silvally GX, but this is a little bit similar to the deck that we saw round one. I think it was Ryan that was playing the Metal Toolbox deck. So this kind of actually reminds me, in some ways, of quite similar to that.
Yeah, no Celesteela or Kartana in this, though, is the main big difference.
Exactly. And he's playing a Zoroark GX line as well, which is quite interesting. But even with those metal attackers, I mean, surely you have to say that he should be favourites against this, against the Gardevoir deck. But yeah, and just having a look, Jack only plays the 1-1. Well, he plays the 1 Sylveon GX, so it could be interesting to say the least.
Yeah, it could be interesting to say the least indeed. Looks like these players are almost just about ready to kick off. They are set up. The prize cards are out. You can see that one Silvally prized for Grafton, a couple of Sycamores, but nothing too major. And on Jack's side, Gardevoir, Rolts, Rare Candy. It's a nice spread of prizes. Both of them should be able to work with those quite handily. And it looks like Grafton will be going first, starting off with a Bridget.
Yes, he is. It's probably the ideal opener in any kind of game, really. Is you want to go for that Bridget, get all your Pokemon onto the bench. Registeel start, which is I think is probably the most ideal start in this deck, just because you want that energy acceleration. You want to be sort of doing bits of damage with Turbo Arm. And trying to get energy onto your bench. Yeah. So he is doing his first deck check, so normally they do take a little bit longer on the first check to try and work out what's prized. They're obviously not privileged to have the prize cam like we are, so they're just kind of going through their decks and working out what they think is missing.
Yeah, for a second if I was wondering what Grafton got from the Bridget there because I couldn't see it, I thought there was some kind of glare going on, but actually he just put them face down, so I imagine he'll reveal them afterwards and actually show us all what he got.
Absolutely, yeah. So, but then on Jack's side he's got the Eevee, so he can go straight into Magical Ribbon, which is going to be a very strong start as well. So that looks like a Zoroark, a Type Null, and another Registeel.
Yes, indeed it is. And now he has got an energy attack as well. I'm going to put a double colors on Silvally, just get it ready. Maybe he can do the Silvally's attack next turn, but no, after that just a pass, and Jack is going to start off as well. He does have an Ultra Ball in hand, So, but he has the Bridget in hand
He also
anyway.
has the Bridget, so he's going to go for the Bridget.
Who needs Tapu Lele, right?
Yeah. So yeah, he's going for the Bridget. You'd have to be thinking that he's going to be getting some Rolts into play at the moment. Maybe even Oranguru. You know, that's quite... he might be going down the Oranguru route. But yeah, you can see him putting the Rolts at the beginning of his deck. And again, he is going for the Oranguru. Yeah. It's a very nice early game setup, consistency card, I would say.
Yeah. I feel like when it comes to draw cards, the earlier you can get them out, the better. Even if it means sacrificing a third Rolt, you're normally content to just build up off of those two and then use your other search and draw cards to find your third and fourth Rolts to carry you through the rest of the game. So absolutely makes sense why he's doing this here. And yeah, indeed, going for the 2 Rolts and the Oranguru off this Bridget.
Absolutely. And even, that Oranguru is not going anywhere. It's going to stay there later game. If he does get end down to only a couple of cards, that will be extremely useful then, and this will actually help him set up those Gardevoirs, just because he'll be able to use the ability and then draw more cards in the process. Yeah. You would have to think, does he have a Fairy Energy in hand?
He does not. He has 3 double colourless though. That is not ideal. You do not want to see so many of those so early on.
He does have the Ultra Ball, so he can go in for the end just to try and preserve those double colourless energies. Don't want to be Sycamoring using Professor Sycamore. And interesting play from Jack. He's going straight with the Parallel City. I guess it's,
that was really strong. Because
I think so, because just looking at Grafton's hand, he does have a Tapu Lele.
But he can't bench it anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So is that his only out? Oh, wow.
It is.
That's a very smart play from Jack, but wow. Well played.
It's just seemingly innocuous use of Parallel City just pretty much makes Grafton's hand dead, as then he's just forced to do turbo on for 30, and that's it.
Right, so he's got to be assuming at this point that he doesn't really have too much to work with in his hand. It looks like he's just about to go for the Ultra Ball. He is going for the Ultra Ball. I don't believe, unless I'm wrong, I don't believe he has access to get... Oh, he's got Tapu Lele. So he's going for that Professor Sycamore. You can see him. He's going to obviously bench Tapu Lele, use Wonder Tag. There you go, there's a Professor Sycamore going straight to the hand. And yeah, I mean... I think Jack's actually on to a really good start at the moment.
Yeah, he is. This is absolutely what the start in an unfavourable matchup like this is exactly the sort of performance you want to be putting in. And I imagine what he'll do here is just attach other double colourless to something else, because he said does have 3, so probably attach it to the other Rolts, or maybe even to the active if he wants to do that. He does have Super Rod as well, so he actually shuffled the Curlier discarded back in. That's really great as well. Yeah, it's just a really, really strong turn from Jack.
Yeah, and he's going to be using Professor Sycamore as well. He's going to be going for 7 cards. There is the possibility of... Well, actually, has he attached this turn? I don't believe he has.
No, he hasn't.
Exactly. So he's probably, as you say, will be attaching the double colours energy, so he won't be able to get the Sylveon that use a magical ribbon. He's going for Tapu Lele GX, which is interesting.
He needs to actually discard the Sycamore before he draws off the deck. Oh no, he did Oranguru. He didn't instruct first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right. Sure.
So just to dig that little bit deeper.
Very good. He's got the rare candy. Is that a Curlier in hand?
It's a Curlier, and I think I saw an Ultra Ball. Oh no, it's just it's a rare candy. So.
So yeah, I mean, so he's set up for next turn. He does have an N. He probably won't want to play the N just because obviously he can sense that Grafton doesn't have a very good hand, especially with that Parallel City. Tapu Lele is actually not a bad play at this point, just because it doesn't have a weakness, so it's a good attacker in its own right.
Yeah, and it's one of the ways you can mitigate this sort of weakness to metal that the Gardevoir deck has, to focus on a more Tapu Lele have a more Tapu Lele focused attacking strategy to maybe sort of clean up with Gardevoir later on. Now, Grafton has been bailed out here. He has actually just drawn an N off of the top of his deck, so he'll be able to play that and refresh his hand at long last. But just that one extra turn of tempo from Jack's side just really helped him out.
Yeah, and what's really helping Grafton out as well is, I guess he can attach another energy to that Tapu Lele, but if he doesn't attach another energy to that Tapu Lele, he's 3-shotting that Registeel, which is a non-EX or non-GX, so that might actually force him to attach an energy to the Tapu Lele. Of course, he does have Secret Spring if he can get Gardevoir out, which is certainly a viable option in its own right, but we'll just see what they draw off the end here.
Yeah, so Grafton looks like he's going to find himself some beginner, Zoroark, and Metal Energy. Yeah, going to evolve that Zoro straight away. And he's going to discard Metal Energy, draw 2 cards. That's a really nice combo, of course, because now he can just Turbo Arm that energy straight onto a Pokemon after discarding it.
Yeah, very, very, very well thought out. As you say, he does use that trade ability. He'll discard the cards. Phil Blower, coming in to obviously remove the Parallel City and to remove the Floatstone. And yeah, he's going to get that energy acceleration, which is really nice.
Yeah.
Megina hit the bench. And yes, so he's powering Magina.
Yeah. No, this actually makes a lot of sense. Magina has an attack which is sometimes easy to forget, but Soul Blaster for Metal and 2 colors does 120 damage, which doubles weakness and 240 on Gardevoir GX and actually knocks it out.
Right, so it's very well thought out in that sense then. Just going over to Jack's side, he's got parallel again. Wow.
So he's going to have to, it's going to have to be those two.
Sure. So I'm assuming so he's hit the parallel, put the bench down to 3. Does he have a means of getting a Gardevoir out? That is, he has a Gardevoir in hand.
Yeah, there it is, Rare Candy Gardevoir. That's really, really good for him. And if he finds another Gardevoir, he can just evolve that Curlier on the bench as well and have both of them ready to go.
Absolutely. So very smart play then, not obviously putting down the Gardevoir, but going down the Rare Candy route, which he already had in hand. I think he has a Choice Band in hand. Don't think he's doing too much at the moment. Guzma and... just missed the last card there.
Yeah.
So he's going for the Choice Band on the Gardevoir GX. I know he's going for Tapu Lele, which isn't doing too much against his Registeel at the moment. He's got Float Stone in hand.
We're going for it on a Curlier eventually.
Okay, so he's trying to limit his hand down to only a few cards just because he wants to use Instruct with Oranguru, just because he's not... I don't think he's used a supporter this turn, and he has Guzma in hand. But does he use the Guzma first and then Instruct for 2, or does he just Instruct for 1?
It depends on what he wants to go for, because all he needs is 1 energy to KO the Registeel, but I think he's just sort of conceding that won't happen. And so instead, plays the Guzma, brings up the EV with the Float Stone, Instruct for 2. He does find...
Wow.
Okay.
He's got a Tapu Lele in hand, so he can use the 1 to tag ability, go back in the deck for a supporter, and very smartly putting the Float Stone on the EV, which can then just immediately retreat.
Yeah.
So, and then just attacks with Tapu Lele. It's 80 damage. And, over to Grafton's side.
Actually, I didn't realise that... I've never actually seen type Null's HP number before. It's 110 HP on an Evolving Basic.
Pretty hefty, right? 110 HP just for a basic Pokemon. And it's a decent attacker in its own right. Armor Press is a great attack.
Yeah. So Jack would have needed another double colourless to actually get the KO on that type Null, which is absurd.
And it's a lot of commitment to a Tapu Lele, which...
Indeed.
But, it's just trying to see what's in Grafton's hand. The Parallel's down, so again, he can't use that Tapu Lele GX. He does have Trade, which he is using. And he's playing the memory cards as well, actually. I'm not sure if that's useful in this matchup. I don't believe it is, so... what does he think? Is that Guzma?
Yes, it is. So he's going to bring up the EV, and it looks like he's just going to go for another Turbo Arm, and just going to be a very easy 30 damage. You can use to KO that EV and just get some more energy onto the field. I'm not sure if he has another Metal Energy in his discard pile, but if he does, then... there's a Silvally ready as well. So that will be ready to go very, very soon indeed, as there goes the Turbo Arm. And there's Metal Energy on, so that Silvally is now fully powered up.
Fantastic. And it's a smart play because, he gets the knockout and he gets the energy acceleration in the process.
Yeah.
Over to Jack's side. So I'm just... he does have... Okay, he's going for the Tapu Lele again. It's really difficult for Jack just because if he tries to promote something... I mean, he is actually leading with Silvally and not... he does have the 1 NG on Magina, but it's kind of hard to know what to kind of lead with if you're on Jack's side, whether you do go down the Gardevoir route or if you do go down, attacking with Tapu Lele GX.
I think you have to end up doing a mixture of both to do it well. The one, one good rip for Jack there was that he was able to get a Sycamore off the top of the deck. He did have the Tapu Lele ready if he needed to use it, but he ended up not needing to use it because he got the Sycamore off the top. And all you need to do is draw an energy of any description in order to KO this Registeel, and he does indeed draw into the Fairy energy. In fact, he draws into 2, so what he could do is attach 1 to the active and then attach 1 to either the Gardevoir or the Curlier just to get it ready to follow up attack in the next turn.
And he's got an interesting decision to make here because he can either evolve that Curlier into a Gardevoir GX, or I saw the Gallade in his hand, which he can go down the route. And let's not forget the Gallade doesn't actually have a weakness of metal. So he is going down the Gallade route, which now kind of takes away the threat a little bit of, having all these fairy Pokemon who are weak to metal, and becomes a very viable attacker in its own right.
And it worked out really nicely as well because there was no fairy energy on the Gallade, so there's no sort of wasted energy attachment on there. The double colours on there, that will power up the Sensitive Blade, and now Jack doesn't need to worry about committing any more energy to it or just mismanaging that. That's been managed perfectly.
Yeah, and let's not forget that it does have the Premonition ability, so that you can see that is what Jack is doing. He's using the Premonition ability to rearrange the top 5 cards of his deck, so he draws into something more efficient for next turn. Does go for the KO on the Registeel, and Magina EX becomes active.
Yes, so Now, there's a Guzma
wow.
onto the Gallade, so I think Grafton, recognizing the threat that card poses, he has the Psychic Memory in his hand! So this is one of the cards we mentioned earlier. It changes Silvali's, or it gives Silvally Psychic typing, and so now with the attack does 110 damage, so doubling for weakness 220, that will be enough to knock out the Gallade.
Absolutely.
Great play from Grafton.
It's a really fantastic play, and I completely forgot that he has obviously the memory cards in there. The Psychic Memory doesn't do too much against Gardevoir, but it does hit Gallade for weakness, and let's not forget that he is actually taking away a threat on Jack's side, which is that it's a fighting type Pokemon, and Silvally is weak to fighting types.
Yes, indeed it is. Now, in case any of you are wondering, we just saw that a Kukui was discarded and he drew 2 cards. Grafton did not play the Kukui, he discarded it for trade. Because it's funny because it looks like it does the same thing, so it could have looked like Grafton actually played it, but he just discarded it for the trade.
Wow, yeah, and has Grafton, has he played a supporter card this turn?
He played the Guzma to bring up.
Of course he did, yes, absolutely. So, so that would make sense.
Yeah, that was what I was saying, because it could have looked like a double supporter, but it wasn't.
Well, very well spotted. So, he's gone for the KO on the Gallade, which now this leaves Jack in a pretty tricky situation, you'd have to say. He can try and go aggro, Tapu Lele GX, which could be a play, and then obviously you can Secret Spring and try and attach the energy for a turn. I'm not sure if that would have knockout, if you try and add it up. I'm not sure if it does have knockout or not.
Well, it actually shouldn't be too hard for this knockout to happen because, there's already 80 damage on the Silvally, so now this Energize is doing 140, so that's actually perfect. He'll be able to knock out Silvally and actually preserve the Gardevoir to hit something which will be a bit harder as KO, so very good play from Jack there.
Yeah, and Jack would actually be in prize lead as well. He'll have taken more prize cards than his opponent at that point. It's a fantastic play on Jack's side. Let's just see what he kind of goes into here.
So, I mean, an end's been played, so Grafton's only going to get 4 cards of this, Jack is going to get 5. Jack doesn't really necessarily need to see anything else. I think he would just like to maybe see another Rolt or something, just so he can set up another attacker, but only seeing an Ultra Ball is... The discards for that one are potentially ugly. He's debating whether it's worth it or not, and he's deciding, nope, just happy to take the KO, and 2 more prizes. We're picking up a Gardevoir and another rare candy from Jack. Back to Grafton.
But let's not forget that now that he has 1 more bench space free, he can bench another Pokemon, because obviously that Parallel City is in play. He can now bench 1 more Pokemon as a result of that being knocked out.
Indeed.
So McGinnis becomes active, trade for 2. There is a Choice Band, there is a Double Colorless Energy. This... trying to think, with that Choice Band and Double Colorless Energy, I believe he has knockout on that Tapu Lele GX.
150 from the... Because obviously normally 120, the 30 from the Choice Band make it 150. That would be enough to actually KO the Lele. But I think ideally Grafton wants to say that to KO the Gardevoir, because otherwise the Gardevoir is kind of hard to knock out.
Sure.
So... especially considering that's the only metal type attacker that Grafton still has left. There is no Registeel in play for him. So... looks like he's faced a tricky decision here.
If he retreats, the issue is, can he get another Registeel in play? I think he's gone through 2 Registeel. I'm not sure if he plays any more. I don't believe he does. So there is, not too much in terms of energy acceleration going on here, but he is going for Zoroark. Zoroark is hitting... Well, that Zoroark's capped because it does have Parallel City in play.
Yeah.
You do want to be trying to fill up your bench as much as you can. Obviously, with the Parallel City, it does limit him. But nonetheless, it's a solid attack in its own right. It's a GX attack, a GX Pokemon, so it does have quite a high HP.
Yeah. I think the exact reason why Grafton did that was because he could have taken the KO with McGinnis, sure, but then Gardevoir just KOs him back straight away with not even any single issue at all.
Right.
So with that, he can bring it up Zoroark to rise his beating, soften up the Tapu Lele a little bit, and it means that now Jack has a much harder problem to try and KO something.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And so he's going for Ultra Ball here. You'd have to be thinking that Jack is wanting to get in some more Gardevoir GXs here. He's only relying on that one at the moment, and he needs a turn actually to bench that Rolts so he can evolve in the following turn. So that will be his priority in this turn, I think, is to trying to get at least some more Gardevoirs into play. He does have a Gardevoir, he's got a Rare Candy and Gardevoir GX in hand. So if he can hold on to this hand for next turn, he will indeed actually... be able to get another Gardevoir GX into play.
Yeah. I feel like what Jack's debating now is that there is a Max Potion in his hand. He could retreat that Lele Max Potion and then, maybe attack with Gardevoir or something else, but I don't think he would be able to put enough energy on it to KO that Zoroark. So whether it's worth it or not is another matter entirely. The Rolts does go down. Is he going to play the Max Potion?
Yeah, and I'm thinking from Jack's side, I'm not sure if he's aware, but there is no, as far as I can see, there is no energy acceleration from Grafton's side. So, I mean, that Magina will take a couple of turns to try and power it up. So, yeah, I think he looks like he's going to retreat that Tapu Lele GX. And he's going for Gardevoir. Wow, okay. And obviously, we're not hitting for weakness at this point, so I mean that's not really an issue. Magina doesn't look like it's going to be powered up anytime soon, so I think it's pretty safe to bring out the Gardevoir at this point.
I think Jack was making a calculated decision as to whether he thought that Grafton would be able to somehow power up the Magina in one turn to KO him back. Now, the one thing that Jack probably doesn't know is that Grafton actually plays a multi-switch, which is in his hand right now. I'm not sure if he'd actually be able to use that in a way because his energy is spread in ways where you can't get them, say, both onto the Magina. But if he's able to just find one of them...
That's on the Gin hand. Oh. But I think he's using it for Ultra Ball.
Yeah, but maybe he's not going for that play then.
Yeah, and he doesn't have any Registeel left in deck, I don't believe, unless he has something like a Rescue Stretcher. I can't see what's in his hand.
The metal to do the attack,
right,
that's why.
Okay, I see. But yeah, so he's just kind of going through his deck. Does he even need a search at this point? I guess he might as well make the most of it because he does have...
He's going for Soul Valley, he doesn't have one.
Oh, of course, yes. Yeah, of course, you're right. Shuffling his deck, and I'm just trying to think, just weighing up what his options are really at this point.
Yeah. The one thing that's going to be sad for Grafton is that he's going to play the Sycamore now and he's going to have to reveal that multi-switch. So Jack's going to see that and go, hold on a second. I've not seen this card.
Okay, so Field Blower, that could be big because, so obviously now the Parallel City is in play. That Zoroark can actually start racking up some numbers. And you can see him giggling.
Yeah.
He knows.
Well, he knows now at least, but that is unfortunate for Grafton because cards like that normally at their most effective when you can pull them out as a surprise. Now, in the next game, Jack's going to be thinking, oh, hold on. And that's something I need to think about now.
Sure, and the thing is, as you say, he wouldn't have expected that. But now that he knows it's in there, I mean, absolutely. Sil Valley becomes active. Let's have a look. He still has... he's left his supporter card out, actually, for the turn. What's that sitting just behind it?
That's the multi-switch.
Oh, okay.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah, sure.
So with that, he's going to be able to do a turbo drive now. He's going to do 120 to this Gardevoir, and he's going to be able to attach to the Beginner and sort of make that a viable threat that Grafton can respond with again. And it's really cool how this deck, it seems like all the Pokemon work off of each other to make sure that you're never short of energy. Like the Registeel accelerates energy, the Silver Valley accelerates energy. You really struggle to have an energy shortage with this deck.
Exactly, and I mean that's done two things for him because now that Magina just needs one double colors energy, and then that's good to go. And then obviously being a metal type, that does starts one-shotting things like Gardevoir. So it's a very smart play on Grafton's side. But Jack does have the Max Potion in hand. He can use that. It would put him down, obviously, 2 energy. He can Secret Spring them back on, but then obviously he's worried about the threat of Magina EX sitting on the bench. So it's really tricky from Jack's side,
I think that actually, if you're Jack, you may consider he's going to play the Max Potion, but there is a option to consider. Maybe you just Max Potion the Lele because you could just resign to the fact that this Gardevoir was going to get KO'd because even if you Max Potion it, all Grafton needs is a double colorless, and it's getting KO'd regardless. Right. So this is what he's doing instead. He's going to go for the double colorless onto the Gardevoir. Now that's going to be enough to take the KO on the Silver Valley, so that's actually really good for him. So now, sure, essentially, with the Max Potion, if he played it, he would have been resigned to not KO in the Silver Valley, but given that he's like to be KO'd back by the beginner anyway, he's just thinking it's worth investing regardless.
It's worth the 2 prize investment. And as I say, if he does take this KO, he will be down to 1 prize, which could be quite detrimental with N. Given that he has a Rangaroo on the bench, that shouldn't be too much of an issue. So.
I'd say a really big draw off the Sycamore as well is he actually drew into 2 Fairy Energies, so he's able to Secret Spring those both onto the Gardevoir, and that means that, again, even if this Gardevoir does get KO'd, Jack has the follow-up attacker to go afterwards, so actually this is a really amazing turn for Jack.
Sure, and let's not forget he's 1 KO now away from winning the game, so if he can, that Magina has, I believe, 170? It's
160, actually.
160, wow, it's even lower, so, that could be quite, I
mean, 160 and 170 are the same for Gardevoir mass regardless, but it's still, it is a low number. There goes another trade for Grafton drawing 2 cards. No double colorless though still. So he actually just can't attack this Gardevoir. Wow. If he can't, that's really bad news.
And you have to say, Jack's played this out very, very well. Considering he does have a lot of sort of, his back is kind of up against the wall in terms of all these weaknesses. He has played this out extremely well.
Yeah, all credit to him, definitely.
So Ultra Ball going in. He's looking to see what the contents of his deck are to see what, if there is anything that he can draw out. There is a double colorless energy in there, so he knows there's one in the deck. He has already used his supporter card for the turn. So
I think Grafton's face just kind of says it all at this point.
Yeah.
It's just...
Has he used trade yet?
He has. He just discarded the fighting memory to use it. At least I believe that's fighting memory. Yeah, it is. That is bad news.
He does have... he hasn't used a GX attack for the game. He does have the option of using Big Wheel, maybe. Could be an option. He's going for the end to put Jack down to 1 card. Again, this shouldn't be too much of an issue, just because that Oranguru is on the bench. But
this is going to be an absolutely huge draw for Grafton. He needs to see this double colorless this turn, or I think he actually just loses the game. So he does see it. 1, 2, 3. He gets it the last card at the top of the deck. Double colorless means he'll be able to attach.
Huge draw.
Absolutely. Be able to attach to the Magina. You can do Soul Blast and knock out that Gardevoir. Although again, it's still a struggle because then the other Gardevoir carries him back. So although it is a huge draw, maybe it actually doesn't help him as much as we thought it would.
Yes, absolutely. So that is the issue with it. There's obviously, say he did play the N, which puts Jack down to 1 card, but because he can draw out of it, okay. So at this point,
all Jack needs is an energy. This is the way you have to pray for, right? You just have to hope.
Does he have a Tapu Lele GX in hand?
He does have a Tapu Lele GX in hand.
Oh. Wow. Okay, so he's counting up. I'm assuming he must be counting up his energy at this point,
and his supporters,
and also also supporters as well, to work out what is left in deck. I'm sure. So he's looking for Sycamores at this point. I can see 2 in the discard pile. So he wants to be hitting a. Yeah, going into Professor Sycamore would be more than ideal at this point.
And then Grafton's just like, yeah, sure, why not? And there's a choice band.
He's got choice band.
That will do it. So
fantastic game from Jack's side, I have to say.
Grafton shaking his head. He knew he had to fight for that one, but it wasn't enough. Jack is able to take go on, playing that game absolutely brilliantly, having to get a little bit lucky towards the end, but everything up to that point was pure class.
Absolutely, and he played that out so well. It's like he knows the deck so well. He knows how to play the deck. He must have known that Metal was going to be a very prominent type here. So he's put a lot of thought into his deck. He's played it out very nicely, and as I said, every move was very intricate in how he was playing that matchup. I
think, and although we say it came down a little bit like at the end, I think we have to give credit to Jack where it's due as well. His deck was very thin, like that end, especially because he had access to Oranguru as well. He had a lot of outs to be able to draw out of that end to 1. So I think it's very fair that he was able to get that result at the end.
Absolutely, and let's not forget that he used Bridget turn 1 to get that Oranguru out.
Yes.
So that Oranguru stuck around the entire game. And it just completely eliminated, a lot of threats from having, being N. So that's why Jack wasn't too worried about, going down to 1 prize card, just because he knew he had the Oranguru to get himself out of that situation.
Could not agree more. So now they're going to be setting up here for game 2, and it would be very interesting to see how differently this game ends up playing out. Maybe Grafton plays a little bit differently with his bench. Maybe thinks, maybe I'm only going to bench 2 things, because if I do need to space for the Lele, then that would be really bad. Or maybe he could even preemptively Lele, just bench it as soon as he has access to it, so that if Jack does parallel, it doesn't matter. He can just discard the Lele and be happy with that.
Sure, and let's not forget that Jack is now aware of that the multi-switch that Grafton's actually playing in his deck. That was revealed to him in that game, so now he can play accordingly, knowing that that's in the deck. Again, and from Grafton's side, he knows that Jack plays at least two Parallel City from what he saw. He might, again, as you say, be a bit more cautious about overbenching, just because he might want to use that Tapu Lele GX to get some more supporters.
Yeah. In any case, it looks like Grafton obviously going to go first in this game. He's going to be going off to a very strong start here. He's able to start with the Bridget straight away, and I don't think he had to Tapu Lele for it. I actually can't see if he... Okay, he did. He did bench use 1 attack for it, but still an incredibly strong start. He's able to get himself a Registeel, a Zora, and what looks like another type Null. And just pretty much getting out the whole plethora of attackers that he will need to carry him through this match.
Absolutely, and surely he must be sort of cautious about Parallel City coming down, because he will have to discard 2 of those Pokemon to the discard pile. So I think Tapu Lele would be a target. I'm not too sure what else he would get.
He just discard the other type Null.
Yeah, I guess so.
Because then he has 1 of each thing ready.
Sure. But yeah, up to Jack. So he's looking at his hand. He's got 2 Rolts in there. Is that 2 Rolts? Or is that a Curlier just behind?
That is a Curlier just behind.
Okay, so he's got the Rolts in hand. He wants to be going for a Tapu Lele GX just because he wants to get Bridget out. I don't see a Bridget in his hand. Assumingly, he would have already played it at this point. So Ultra Ball.
Scanning
the rare candy, and it is Curly, yes, as you were saying. So what does he discard at this point? I think the Fairy Energy is probably the best choice at this point. You don't want to be discarding, obviously, a Curlier and a Rare Candy because you do need to get your Guard of Wires out. So as you can see, he's putting the Tapu Lele GX and the Bridget on the front of the deck just because he knows that that's what he's going to be drawing out. Again, doing a deck search as well, trying to work out what is prized. So you can see him there counting the rolls. So he knows he's got, I think, 3 rolls at least. I'm not sure if I saw the 4th one or not. But yeah, okay, so Tapu Lele GX goes for Bridget, and then he's searching out 2 rolls, and again, the Oranguru.
Yeah, indeed. So Jack knows, granted he didn't actually end up needing it to bail him out at the end, towards the end there, but he knows how important that could have been, given that into 1, so he's going to want to get out as soon as possible, which he has indeed done. And yeah, both players off to just a really good start here. Just that turn 1 Bridget. It's funny how stable Bridget has become, considering all it took was Tapu Lele, right? Because before Bridget was just didn't see much play, and it just wasn't really considered that great. Apart from, I remember like some Vesperquen lists played it, but I think that was pretty much it. But now almost every single setup deck, even in non-setup decks, like Drampa Garbodor plays 1 just because it is so. It only restricts you if you're getting out an EX, so of course you can just get out, say, a Drampa GX and 2 other things. Sure,
but let's not forget, a season or 2 ago, we didn't have GX in the format. It was predominantly EX-based, so there was no real need to play Bridget at that moment in time. But now, I mean, we are more reliant on things like Stage 1s and Stage 2 Pokemon, which is where, Bridget has sort of found a use. But, I mean, certainly now you would have to say it's a staple in most decks, absolutely.
Yeah. And so Jack's going to just debate where to commit this double colours energy. It looks like he's opting to go for it on the Tapu Lele. That did work out quite nicely for him last time, so I can definitely understand why he'd be going for that. Just it's a really good lead so that you don't fall victim too easily to any early shenanigans with Registeel or anything like that. And looks like from Grafton's side we're going to just see a Fighting Memory go down onto the Type Null.
I think it's put down the Tapu Lele GX.
Oh, just to get it out of his hand.
I
okay.
think so, yes.
Yeah, that makes sense too. Just to make sure he doesn't redraw it. And then just to play the end after that.
Sure. From Jack's side, he does have 2 Tapu Lele GXs out. Obviously, that does sort of take up 4 prizes, but then again, he has 2 attackers, which kind of is like a good situation to be in some senses, in others not so much. Not really the ideal start. You don't really want to be starting with Tapu Lele GX. But just looking at his hand, does he have anything to work with at this moment in time? There is a Guard of Wire in there. Okay. Oh, he's got Parallel City. Wow. Okay, so Parallel. I think he must be debating whether or not to play at this point, because he can look at Grafton's side and see that actually has 5 Pokemon on the bench. And then obviously, as you say, if he benches, if he puts out that Parallel City, he won't then be able to use anything like Tapu Lele GX on top of that, because he'll be capped at 3, given that he can't at the moment anyway, but still very valid at this moment and point in the game.
Yes, and it looks like he's indeed going to play that down. Maybe he's debating about the direction he wants to play it in, although I don't see why he'd want to discard 2 hero and things. And no, he's actually just going to not play it and just going to go for the end at this point.
Yeah, and it's at this point really, he's trying to set up some more Guard of Wires. He's trying to set up some Guard of Wires in play, try to use Secret Spring, get those energy on the board and, kind of lead. I'm assuming at this point would be with the Tapu Lele GX. So he does have the double colours energy in hand. I believe... Has he attached an energy this turn?
Who, Jack?
Jack.
No, because that double colours was last turn.
That's what I thought, yeah. So he can attach the double colours energy then to the active Tapu Lele GX, and then obviously lead with that, which might be a pretty solid play in itself. Going for Curlier with the Ultra Ball, so, a guaranteed, more or less guaranteed Guard of Wire GX for next turn. And, Jack's setting up pretty nicely. I think they both had a pretty nice setup. Surprisingly, he's decided to save that Parallel City for a bit later on in the game.
I think he realised at this point, because you were saying that, it's... it means that Grafton's prevented from using Tapu Lele. He's already prevented from using Tapu Lele. There's no bench space available for him, so all it really does is just enable him to discard a couple more things and maybe get rid of another Steel Valley that he could use later on. But I don't think it was. I think Jack realised it wasn't impactful enough to actually make a difference at this point. So instead not opting to use it. Oh, there's a Guzma.
Right.
So that's going to
immediately trying to take out the threat, and in itself, give it gives Grafton an energy acceleration, but I don't think he has any. Yeah, you can see him checking in his discard pile. He doesn't have any metal energy in there, so he doesn't get the energy acceleration. But he does remove a potential threat in that Curlier, which would have turned into a Gardevoir GX in the following turn.
Absolutely. So there goes a double colourless onto that Curlier. There's going to be a Field Blower to discard the fighting memory. And then there's going to be Instruct for 1. There's Parallel City again.
But again, is it impactful enough to make a difference? I think he's going to Sycamore at this point.
I mean, he has to.
Yeah.
You can't not Sycamore here.
Sure. Absolutely, you're right, because he's decided not to play the Parallel City. So he's got an Ultra Ball in hand. That gives means to a Gardevoir GX. There is a Fairy Energy in hand as well, so he can Secret Spring. He's already attached the energy to the Curlier and the active. But he can use the ability, Secret Spring, to obviously attach. But so Ultra Ball, the N. What is his next card going to be? He does have another Tapu Lele GX in hand, which, again, could be another viable attacker, given that he's already got 2 on his bench. I mean, that could be 6 prizes, so it might be, slightly worrying.
Yeah, I was going to say, the thing is about Gardevoir is if he went for it, he actually wouldn't be able to get the KO because he couldn't attach enough energy. So what he's instead done is he's gone for Gallade. Of course, Silvally is normally a colourless type, which is weak to fighting. So given that Jack has played a supporter this turn, he could just do Sensitive Blade for 130 or double to 260 and knock out the Silvally.
And again, it's a very smart play from Jack's side. He has gone from the Gallade, as you say, to counter, to one-shot the Silvally because it does have weakness. And he's using Premonition as well. So that's why he's picking up the top 5 cards of his deck and rearranging them. And just like that, Jack has taken 2 prizes.
Yep, so Sensitive Blade goes down. Actually, Jamie, something that we neglected to mention at the beginning of the game, which we probably should have done, Jack has 2 Float Stones and 2 Gardevoir still left in his prizes.
Wow, that could be quite huge. Still in his prizes, he took 2 prizes just now. He's still got 2 Gardevoir GXs remaining in there. So that could come back, But at this moment in time, that Roll is sitting on the bench. I don't see means of getting that to a Gardevoir GX next turn. Doesn't look like he has the resources in hand. But
it doesn't.
Yeah. So, and I think for this turn, I think the Gallade is going to be safe. I can't see. Oh, N. Okay. Yeah. I can't see any means of knocking out that Gallade at this moment in time. I think what he'll do is just go for some form of energy acceleration with Turbo Arm, which will deal the 30 damage, and try and potentially power up that Silvally in the process.
Yeah, I think so. And the one thing that's really nice for Jack, as we were saying, that Gallade is pretty safe, and Registeel has 130 HP, which is exactly enough for Jack to be able to take the KO with Sensitive Blade. So this Gallade is going to put in a lot of work for him.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's well, as you say, it does one-shot the Registeel, and it does hit weakness as well. Not just for Silvally, but also for Zoroark as well, which is also weak to fighting.
Yeah. So back on Jack's side, we always saw that Grafton just did Turbo Arm, just 30 to the Gallade, attaching to the beginner, just so he has the option to potentially attack with that as well. And then Jack does have a rare candy in his hand.
He's going for Guzma, wow.
Oh, no, that makes perfect sense, because then again he can just retreat and the KO Sensitive Blade again.
Yes, yeah, he does. But what I'm thinking at this point is, unless he has a Float Stone, he's going to have to pay the retreat cost of that Tapu Lele, so that's what he's digging for at this moment in time. So he's used Premonition first. He's going to look at the top 5 cards of his deck. There is no Float Stone in there. He wants to preserve that double colourless energy. So he is having to pay the retreat cost because he could have used a Rangaroo to try and get into that Float Stone. But as you say, because he's played the supporter card for the turn, he can use Sensitive Blade and knock out that Silvally GX, which puts him at only 2 cards, 2 prizes remaining.
Yeah. He wouldn't have been able to find Float Stone off of the other thing because both of them are prized. But he has just taken 2 prizes. Wow. He's taken the Gardevoir and the Float Stone. Oh, there's a multi-switch on the Cinema Beginner, though. So he will be able to use Sensitive Blade for the knockout. And
okay.
Sorry, not Sensitive Blade, even Soul Blaster to knock out the Gallade. It will be exactly enough. 30 plus 120 will be 150.
Sure.
And then an N from Grafton's side as well. That's very sad because Jack actually had the rare candy ready in hand. So he had the Gardevoir, he had the rare candy. He could just go all in, do it all, but not meant to be, I guess.
Yeah, and it's still a very powerful play at this point because, he is putting Jack down to only 2 cards. There's a rare candy, Choice Band. He's not doing too much with that at the moment.
No.
That Gallade looks like it's going to be knocked out. So, therefore, he won't have access to Premonition for next turn. But he is going to have to try and use a Rangaroo to draw into something. That Choice Band he could put down immediately, so that's 1 card out of his hand. The question is what he draws next and whether he can utilize that with Instruct for a Rangaroo.
Yeah, what he's going to do is so this Gallade's going to go down, up goes to the Lele, And Jack
got-
draws
wow.
another Sycamore.
Wait,
And
it's... Oh, wait, that's KO.
Oh yeah, that's KO. Got the choice band.
Yeah,
There we
wow.
go.
And Jack, just like that, Jack takes the series. That's, he's won the game.
Yeah, he's won the match. He takes it all. So Jack overcoming a potentially very unfavourable matchup to win 2-0 against Grafton Roll, who
Right.
we actually forgot to